Hello, everyone, and welcome back. So what's on tap for today? Well, folks, we've got another reaction video. This time is from Senator Ted Cruz at a hearing talking about the implications and the decision of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. So we're going to get to all that the next few seconds, but before we do so, we want to welcome you to the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your guest host for today. My name is Dr. Nasir, and if you haven't already done so, it's your first time here, hit that subscription button, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. Give us some comments below after you watch this video. Let's get to Ted Cruz and his impassioned speech on the floor of the Senate.
The Supreme Court's decision in Dobbs was a victory for democracy in America. Abortion is an issue on which the American people have strong and passionate views and disagree, as the witnesses here at this hearing demonstrate. Those disagreements have been longstanding, and the way our Constitution operates, typically on issues in which there is sharp disagreement, it is the democratic process that resolves that disagreement. When the Supreme Court decided Roe v. Wade in 1973, 7 unelected judges said to the American people, your views don't matter. Your desire to protect innocent life doesn't matter. We know better than you, and we are going to prevent you from making decisions about protecting life. The consequence of that has been 5 decades of deep political division because the democratic process was prevented from operating. Now that a 6-3 majority of the Supreme Court has overturned that decision, questions of abortion will return to the elected branches of government. The democratic process will be allowed to operate. That will mean in bright blue states, tragically, we'll continue to see unlimited abortion on demand. And in redder states, we will see some meaningful restrictions on abortions. And those restrictions will vary state by state, depending on the values and mores of their citizens.
And that's exactly the way it's supposed to be. I mean, I wish that we could just go ahead and, with the stroke of a pen, eliminate all abortions completely, make them totally illegal, except in certain cases, depending upon, if you want to give some exceptions. That's another, topic for debate later or whatever. But that's exactly what the democratic process is all about, as he talks about. In the blue states, abortion on demand, up until the day, even after, who knows, infanticide. That's what the blue states, if that's what the people in those blue states, a majority say, okay, fine. In the redder states, hey, there's going to be some meaningful limitations on the practices of abortion or whatever. And that's for them to decide. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way a democracy works, a constitutional republic works. Otherwise, you have just chaos and anarchy. And like you said before, previously, okay, the previous judges, those 7 justices, what they did, they basically wrote in to the Constitution a constitutional right for women to have an abortion. They just penciled it in, basically, and said, yep, that's the way it is. Without any precedent, nothing at all. They just went ahead and did it. Unelected officials, and took the power away from the citizens and gave it to themselves. Adjudicating from the bench, activists. That's exactly what happened. Giving in to the crowd at that time. Anyways, let's continue.
That's how our Constitution was meant to operate. If you disagree with the abortion laws in your state, you have an outlet to express that disagreement. You have an outlet to be involved in the political process. You have an outlet to advocate for what you believe the laws should be. You're not forced to live under the rule of unelected judges operating as philosopher kings and decreeing the rules for 330 million Americans. I believe abortion's a tragedy. The over 60 million unborn children who've never breathed a breath of air, who've never lived, who've never danced, who've never hugged, who've never loved. Our country is far poorer for the millions of African American children who never had a chance to live and contribute to our country.
Hispanic children, all children.
Unfortunately,
16 million.
one of the consequences of the court taking this out of the democratic process is today's modern Democrat Party has become radicalized on abortion. The case Planned Parenthood versus Casey, a lot of people don't know that the Casey in question there was Governor Bob Casey, who was a Democrat and was pro-life. Today's Democrat Party has said, if you're pro-life, get the hell out. Your views are not welcome in our party.
So true.
Part of the reason that Democrats in this hearing are painting the Dobbs decision in such apocalyptic terms is they know their view of abortion, which is unlimited abortion on demand up until the moment of birth, partial birth abortion with government funding, with no parental notification and no parental consent, is supported by a tiny minority of Americans. They know that the voters, when given a chance, don't support that radical view. And I will point out, there was a time when Democrats used to say the same thing. We all remember Bill Clinton, who said he wanted to see abortion safe, legal, and rare.
Safe,
Today's
legal, and
Democrat
rare.
Party doesn't want it rare. It wants as much abortion as possible. Well, I'll tell you this. When Roe versus Wade was decided, one Democrat who spoke up against it was a fellow named Joseph Robinette Biden, who said in 1974, quote, "I don't like the Supreme Court decision on abortion. I think it went too far. I don't think that a woman has a sole right to say what should happen to her body." That was Joe Biden in 1974. And you may say, okay, that was a long...
Wow, wow, wow. I mean, these quotes are out there, folks. These speeches are out there. This is what happened. This is what he's talking about before. Previously, there were many pro-life Democrats, and they spoke out with a huge voice, but they at least let their voices known. And they didn't care at that time what the opposition said. But now, today's Democratic Party, the wokesters, the progressives, the ones on the left, they're either scared of what people are going to say, you know, of these other groups, the pro-choice groups, the activist groups, the women's groups, all of them. They're afraid of what the cartel mafia media is going to say about them. The alphabet networks are going to say about them. They want to continue to go to all the parties in Washington, D.C. They want to be among their elitist friends. They don't want Hollywood to be upset with them. They don't want academia to be afraid of them. They want to be able to get a job after they finish their stint in the cesspool Washington toilet bowl society. They want to be able to go to a college or a university and get some type of a professorship or some type of a fellowship or something so they can teach there, do whatever, or go out into the workforce and get a job with a think tank or whatever. So they don't want to have that stigma associated with them that they were, you know, against abortion or whatever. You know, so what else do they have to do? Today's modern Democrats don't want it safe, don't want it legal, don't want it rare. They could care less. They just want it on demand, up to any point, at any time, even after the baby's born. That's where they're at. And now Senator Cruz is basically showing what our current president's viewpoint was just, a few decades ago. Let's continue.
Long time ago. All right, let's go to 2007, just 15 years ago. 2007, Joe Biden. Tim Russert says, "You supported that ban on late-term abortions." Biden said, "I did, and I do." That was 15 years ago. Just weeks ago, the Democrats in this body voted to strike down every restriction on abortion across this country, including bans on partial birth abortion, and every single Democrat but one voted for it.
Unbelievable.
Now, maybe you might say, you know what, Joe Biden was out of step. Well,
There it is right there. Tim Russert asking him, Biden at that time, "You support that ban on late-term abortions?" "I did. I do." It was on Meet the Depressed. I don't know if you would call it Meet the Depressed when Tim Russert was doing it, but it certainly is now with, Chuck U. Todd. Meet the Depressed.
Someone else who had similar views, the chairman of this committee. In a June 1983 letter, the chairman of this committee wrote, quote, I have clearly studied the issue, abortion in depth, in favor of the Eagleton Amendment, which states clearly that the right to abortion is not guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution. The effect of this amendment will be to return us to the legal environment which existed before Roe versus Wade in 1973.
Take a look at that here from Dick Durbin, folks, the chairman of this committee right now. This is Dick Durbin, Richard Durbin, writing a letter to Congress back in 1983, basically saying that he knows and he feels that there is no constitutional right to an abortion. Let's continue. This is an unbelievable, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, wow, 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 wow moment. Check and mate moment right now with Ted Cruz. Let's continue.
Signed, Richard J. Durbin, member of Congress. That view continued in August of 1989. Chairman Durbin wrote, and again I quote,
"Here it comes.
I believe we should end abortion on demand, and at every opportunity I have translated this belief into votes in the House of Representatives." He continued to say, I continue to believe the Supreme Court's decision in Roe versus Wade should be reversed. That was the view of a lot of Democrats not that long ago. But today's Democratic Party is afraid of the voters on this issue. What the Supreme Court has done is returned this deeply personal, deeply important, deeply contentious issues to the voters, to let the American people decide. That's democracy.
And that's exactly the way it should be. I can't even imagine. I mean, it's kind of hard to see there because Dick Durbin was sort of over in the corner and the camera was on him, but I would have loved to have seen a close-up of his face as Senator Ted Cruz is reading these letters that he wrote to Congress at that time, basically stating and writing to the courts that, hey, I don't believe there's a constitutional right to an abortion, and I believe that, Roe v. Wade needs to be reversed. There was a time when Democrats stood up to the to the pro-choice, pro-abortion, movement. I can't think of anyone out there, a single Democrat right now, that would dare to stand up there. They're all cowards. They're spineless, feckless. They don't care. They'd rather just keep their mouths shut so they can continue enjoying going to the parties, being part of the crowd, being part of the in-group. Don't have to worry about being attacked by the alphabet networks or, the media mafia cartel. Don't have to be worried about getting hit with comments on Twitter or other social media outlets from, activists and from the Hollywoods, the hypocrites in Hollywood, or from, getting hit from academic circles, the universities and colleges or whatever. They don't have to worry about being protested against or being yelled at when they're going out to eat at a restaurant. They just want to, if they have that thing, they just keep it to themselves, or they basically say, hey, what, we got to separate our religious policies. What do the Catholics do? Isn't that what Nancy Pelosi does? And Schumer and all these other, and some of the other Catholics that are out there, they say, oh, we got to keep our views separate. It's religious views that are on the side. We can't put that into our, voting. We can't put that into law. We have to keep that completely separate. Okay, well, that's the way they do it. But anyways, I thought it was a great speech. Put your comments below. Do you agree with Ted Cruz? Are you on the other side? Let us know with your comments below. And if you haven't already done so, we hope you go ahead and subscribe to the channel because you've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir. Hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. And I'll leave you with my final thoughts, which is when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.